But even I am starting to think, do we need to get a grip? And that's coming from someone who cries at adverts and takes everything personally. Hi guys, and welcome back to LVH Talks. Thank you so much for joining me today. And today's topic is going to be, have we become too sensitive? So if you'd like to comment your opinion below, please feel free to do that, as well as voting on the poll on the community page. That would be great. I always want to hear from you. So, have we become too sensitive? So, this was a topic that was brought to the forefront of my mind because I was actually watching The Diary of a CEO, which is Stephen Bartlett. He's on YouTube and he interviews a lot of well-known faces, and they have very deep and meaningful conversations and get to the roots of matters. And I would recommend it if you've not seen it or heard of it before. Definitely check it out. But the most recent one that I watched was actually Bear Grylls was being interviewed, and he was talking a lot about mental resilience and how that's something that's carried him through his life and how he has been able to achieve what he's been able to achieve and how he sees it as the root of success. And the reason why it left its mark on me was, one, because of the way that he worded it, but also, two, because I don't think it's something that we talk a lot about anymore. I think that the focus lately has definitely been on how to express our vulnerability and our emotions more comfortably, without shame, without embarrassment, without judgment, and to just become a more sensitive society in general, because it's not something that we've done well up to this point. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this was because I am quite a sensitive person. I always have been. I was born that way. I was definitely born that way. And I can be triggered quite quickly and quite easily. And when society started to become more sensitive, which has only been the recent past, it was refreshing, I think, to anyone who is quite sensitive to see other people start showing their sensitive side and their empathy. And it was becoming more comfortable for everyone to be themselves because the fear of judgment wasn't as great as it used to be. However, I do believe that life works in balance. It needs a balance. And the question is, have we gone too far? Have we gone to the extreme? Have we lost the balance? Are things out of balance now? Because at one point we weren't considerate or compassionate enough to other people's feelings and other people's emotions. But now it seems that we're starting to have the opposite problem, where we're almost, I don't want to say too sensitive, because I don't know if that can happen, but that mental resilience that Bear Grylls was talking about, I feel like it's starting to lack, that we're not talking about that enough. And I want to hear your opinions on that and whether you feel the same way, because I do feel like mental resilience and sensitivity need to work side by side. They need to work together. They both need to exist in balance. But at the minute, it feels like that mental resilience is lacking and sensitivity has taken over. And I'm wondering where that's going to lead us and where that's going to take us. So I do think that empathy is important. It's important. We want to be sensitive with each other and we want to be considerate and compassionate with each other. It's the only way we function well in society with each other is if we have those kinds of qualities. But with that empathy needs to come accountability. And I think that was where Bear Grylls was getting to with his point, was that mental resilience, that accountability. At what point do we need to stop blaming outside or external matters or people for how we're feeling or where we are in life? And at what point do we need to take some accountability and pull on that resilience to keep going? And he was right. In my opinion, he was right. And it was a point, again, that I don't feel like a lot of people are talking about much anymore. And that accountability needs to be there. We need to still be able to call ourselves out when we've not tried hard enough, when we're not doing enough to make ourselves feel better, when we're expecting too much from other people and from the outside world to solve our problems or to save us. And again, it's just changed my perspective slightly on where I probably stood on things a couple of years ago. And that's because things in society can change very, very quickly. And, again, you can go from one extreme to the other. And I do feel like we're sort of tipping over now to the other extreme, which is it's an interesting time to be around and see this play out and see where it leads. But what do you think? Do you think that we need to take more accountability for ourselves, that we need to be more resilient? Or do you think that the way things are now is exactly how they should stay, that we have just the right amount of sensitivity and empathy for others and it's working, it's functioning? What do you think? So, again, I'm quite a sensitive person, so it's strange for me to be sat here saying that I feel like we need to maybe pull it back a little bit, rein it in a little bit, because I'm so comfortable with that side of things. But even I am starting to think, do we need to get a grip? And that's coming from someone who cries at adverts and takes everything personally. So, yeah, at what point do we draw the line and say, okay, let's say, for example, someone says something quite offensive or perceived to be offensive to another person. Is what that person's saying really meant in an offensive way, or is it something within us that we have a problem with, that we haven't resolved? I think the clue is this: if it's a single event, a one-time thing, where someone has said something that's upset you, then I think it's fair to say that there's a reason, there's a good reason why you are upset by that. But I think if we're repetitively and consistently getting upset by everything, then that is more of an indication of what's going on inside of us. And that's where accountability comes in. At what point do we have to say, okay, I'm getting upset all the time here about every little thing? Something that's a me thing. That's not an outside world thing. That's a me thing. And I think at some point we also have to say, at what point do we look at these experiences as helpful rather than hurtful? Because I know that at several points in my life when I've been kicked, or I felt like I've been kicked by life or by other people or whatever it may be, even myself, I know that in those moments it's actually been life-changing moments for me, where it's pushed me to the next phase of my life. It's actually been the thing that's taken me from one step to the next. And actually, when life is comfortable, when things are settled, when nothing is getting to me, things generally stay the same. So at what point can we actually look at these experiences and see them as helpful, again, rather than hurtful? And are we just simply now looking at life as out to get us, when really that is not the case? So again, this whole conversation of sensitivity, I think it's great that we can open up and express ourselves more comfortably now, that people are able to be themselves and to say what they really think, and how, more than anything, how they really feel, and be received, have it be received in a safe way with, with empathy. But that needs to be balanced out, in my opinion. It needs to be balanced out with some resilience, some accountability, because otherwise we run risk of consistently blaming the world for our problems, but also playing victim. Victim mentality comes into that then, doesn't it? Because we're constantly seeing ourselves as being attacked or being victimized. And that's not a helpful mindset to be in when you're trying to improve your circumstances, or when you're trying to move forward with your life. So I would highly recommend that you check out that interview with Bear Grylls, because it was very interesting, and I really did end up agreeing with a lot of what he was saying. And actually, he turns out he's actually a very sensitive individual himself as well. So it was good. So check that out. It's called The Diary of a CEO, and it's Stephen Bartlett. So please check that out. And yeah, please drop your comments below about what you think about today's society. Are we too sensitive? Or are we just sensitive enough? Is this the right direction, or do we need more balance? What do you think? Let me know, and I will see you in the next video.